Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Sequel Q&A. My name's Doug. So the next sequel that we'll be covering, we're going to go back to our beginning, sort of. One of the earliest sequels we cover was Escape Plan 3. Next up, the only one left, sequel-wise, unless Sly's got one in the chamber, Escape Plan 2. And for it, we talked with a stuntman who had a similar childhood of movie loving and the types of movies he loved. A lot of Ninja Turtles, a lot of canon films. And that is a stuntman from the movie, Vic Plajas. Man, Vic was so cool to talk to. Local guy. It's not like when I go into these chats, I'm asking people where they're from. He's from New York, currently living in Jersey. So it's really cool to hear about his journey that went from being like a martial arts instructor, having a normal 9-to-5 job. And somebody says, hey, you should look into this. Here's an email. Check it out. And then he ends up at the Marvel Studios with Netflix in Brooklyn. And he's auditioning for Luke Cage. So we talked about going from, obviously is amazing. He's super athletic, martial arts background, to training for this stunt world that involves more than just fight scenes. He talks about burns, jumping off buildings. We talked about like our mutual love for ninja movies, how Ninja Turtles was so big for him as a kid. Three Ninjas, American Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, you name it. We talked about it. And then at the very end, a little cool combo. The interview was pretty much over. And then I was like, hey, Seagal versus Van Damme, I guess somebody that loves ninja movies, and we talked a lot about that. Talked about his mom, how she loves The Rock, also how heartbroken she was seeing her son get murdered in a movie, and a really amazing story from the set of Captain America, where he's doubling Carl Lumley, and a really rad gift. So if you're listening to the interview, you won't be able to obviously see the background. We describe it, but the whole time during the interview, he has a Captain America shield behind him, and it's really cool. Really exchange of gifts with him and Carl. Just a beautiful thing. I loved hearing the stories from a stuntman. It's all the time. We're interviewing everybody from the different facets, front of the camera, behind the camera. So it's been a bit for a stuntman. So it was really cool to be able to pick his brain. So yeah, before I start the interview, if you're new here, please subscribe, like, share, all that fun stuff. Sequels Only, wherever you're on social media, sequelsonly.com, where we have all of our content. We're talking movies, interviewing so many folks that worked on films, have over 15 episodes now. So lots of content to catch up on, but you're here right now and, you got a good one. So without further ado, here is stuntman and ninja aficionado, Vic Plajas. Where are you stationed or set up right now?
Right now I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. Where are you in Jersey? I'm in Hunterdon County now. I grew up in Middlesex County in South Plainfield near Edison.
I'm close to Harrison.
Oh, okay. So right by the city. Look at that.
Okay.
Nice. Did you grow up in Jersey?
No, I grew up in New York. Yeah, I was born and raised in New York. Grew up in New York and then lived in Puerto Rico for a little bit and then came back here.
Oh, sweet, man. Jersey's nice. I love it. Every time I go somewhere else, I'm always, and New York, like that, this vibe of this area, it's weird when you live somewhere else or if you hang out with people from somewhere else. It's so weird. Even me, because I'm not like, grew up really close to the city, so I don't have the tempo like a lot of people do in the city because everything's go, go, go. But when I lived in Oregon, it was just like people were like, whoa, you're being aggressive right now. And I'm like, I'm just talking. It's just our cadence. It's like a different thing.
Yeah, it didn't hit me till I started traveling to other states, and my coworkers would be like, why are you walking so fast? I was like, I'm walking, and I was like, no, you're walking really fast. I'm like, oh, right, because I'm used to New York that we always have to get from point A to point B, and you're always getting somewhere to run somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And it gets crazier and crazier. As much as you're in the city, it's still, I was there last week for work, and just how many people run across the street when cars are coming, and you're like, oh my God, they're going to get hit. Oh man.
No, dude, driving in the city to me is an obstacle course.
Oh,
it's between pedestrians, the food delivery bike guys, people in the bike lane, people that are on their phones, the tourists. You're like, It's a miracle you get home and don't have like a nervous breakdown every day.
I know. And when you're in a taxi, you're like, what are they doing? And they're like going across 4 lanes and there's like no cars moving. You're like, oh my God. But yeah. So no, awesome, man.
Yeah.
So how did that journey begin growing up in New York? When did you think was your first thought acting, or was it doing stunt work, or was it something completely different?
Neither. I was teaching martial arts at a school downtown by Canal Street. And someone made a suggestion that I send an email because they were looking for, stunt guys or someone to be in a show or something. And, New York, everybody's trying to be an actor, a musician, a rapper, something.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay too much attention to it. I took the email down, obviously. And I got home, I threw it on top of my kitchen counter. I was like, whatever. And then about a week later, I saw it. I was like, emailed them. And they replied back. They're like, hey, what's your weight? What's your size? Told them, like, do you have a headshot? I don't know what that is. So, well, do you have yeah, I'm super green. So they're like, do you have a current photo of what you look like? Found whatever was the last picture that I took on my phone, sent that in. And they were like, okay, cool. Are you available this Thursday to come for an audition? I said, yes, I am. It's like, okay, can you show up in athletic clothes, very loose fitting clothing? It'll probably be between an hour, maybe 2 hours tops with the stunt coordinator. And we'll take it from there. I said, all right. Me, not thinking too much of it. I went to the gym. I worked out. I was sweaty. I was smelly as hell. I get to this, what looked like a warehouse in Brooklyn. Security guard lets me in as I go up to the 3rd floor. Ring the bell, go up to the 3rd floor. I had nothing on me. So I had nothing. And I get there and it's like Marvel Studios at the time for the Netflix shows. And there's like posters of Daredevil on the wall and like Luke Cage and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh no. Oh, and the panic started to settle in of like, oh, I think I just messed something. I messed this up. And yeah, the coordinator comes out, was James Liu at the time. He had Luke Cage. And, I had seen him. I'm a huge martial arts movie nerd. So I'd seen James Liu in like Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. He fought Van Damme in Time Cop. He's fought Steven Seagal. He's fought Jackie Chan in Rush Hour. So when he walked out, I was like, oh, hi. And he was the nicest person on the planet. Say, hi, James, nice to meet you. And I'm like, okay, hey, yeah, I know. What's up? He's in Best of the Best.
Hell yeah, I love Best of the Best. Oh, he's the guy. Yeah. He's Eric Roberts' buddy in Best of the Best?
He fights Eric Roberts. He's the guy who axe kicks Eric Roberts on the shoulder and dislocates his shoulder.
Hell yeah.
So he's part of the Korean team.
Oh, shit. Great movie.
Yeah, he's
underrated movie.
So very underrated movie. Very underrated movie. So yeah, we ran through an audition, fights and like gunshot reactions and all that other stuff. And once we were done with the audition, he was like, yeah, I'll see you in a week. So I got home, I called my mom. I'm like, hey, I think I got a job in a show. I don't know. And everything just kind of snowballed from there. And it's been 14 years.
Wow. How do you prepare for that? Did you prepare for the audition at all? Did you think like gunshot, are those things you thought about? Or in the moment, it's like, all right, let's pretend you get shot. And you're like, holy shit, how do I do that?
Yeah. I mean, in my brain, I'm like, it's going to be something martial arts related. Because they ask you like, hey, like, do you have any martial arts skills or like any type of athletic abilities? And you rattle off whatever you do. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, I told them what I can do. So I'm assuming that's what they're bringing me in for. So I kind of came prepared to fight, but I've never fought on camera, which is a totally different animal than actual fighting. I've been doing martial arts since I was like 8. The gunshot thing, he's like, well, we're going to do gunshot reactions. I'm like, so he explained it to me. He's like, hey, you do this. And, if it's in the shoulder, pull your shoulder back, or if it's in your head, you whip your head a certain way. And they put mats down and like, he kindly walked me through the steps. And, if you have any type of physical ability, it's not unnatural to you. It's just a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. It was great.
Wow, that's wild. What got you into martial art? Just a normal thing as a kid going past, hey, I want to try that? Or was it the movies? Was it watching Seagal movies or Van Damme?
Bruce Lee and the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, literally love my earliest childhood memory was my dad putting on Enter the Dragon.
Yes.
And
I
just-
interviewed I interviewed the director of that one. I interviewed the director of Revenge of the Ninja, Sam Furstenberg.
Oh,
He did
wow.
a lot of those canon flicks,
Shokushigi.
that American Ninja, which those
Mhm.
movies are they're just all good, man.
Again, I grew up on all that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
grew up on like American Ninja, Enter, like when the Ninja craze happened, I was right, The Last Dragon, the 90s Ninja Turtles, like all the
Kid
first thing
Ninja
my dad
movies,
gave,
right? We had
the
like
Kid Ninja,
we had the
Three
Chuck Norris
Ninjas.
one, right? The knockoff
Yep.
Karate Kid with Joe Piscopo, Chuck Norris, Jonathan Brandon.
What was it? Sidekicks?
Yeah, Sidekicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Sidekicks, Surf Ninjas, Three Ninjas, like all the ninjas.
Yeah.
So yeah, my dad kind of, put that, I guess, into my consciousness. And like, first thing he gave me when I was a kid was like a pair of foam nunchucks, which I'm sure my mom hated because I whacked everything in the house with them.
Right.
I was fucking
Breaking
flinging around. Yeah.
headlamps.
Yeah. I was destroying everything. And that's what kind of started the journey.
That's all. I actually just watched Van Damme's Sudden Death last night. After the Knick game,
Oh my God.
I couldn't fall asleep, and I was like, let me put on, and I was like, oh, you know what? That one's so ridiculous, but so good. That's why I love those movies. There's like most movies, especially the Marvel movies too, it's like, this can't really happen. Those movies, you're like, I know this can't happen, but I love watching these people in these situations. Van Damme's, the Seagals, like the best.
Yeah. Again, it's most of those films usually have the same through line, right? He was the cop that the mob messed with the wrong guy, or he's like the ex-military super soldier that no one knows, and he's like, meandering in a small town as like pumping people's gas, and then something goes awry, and he's the only one that can save the day. Yeah. I find it interesting that now that's become Jason Statham.
Yeah, I know, the beekeeper. That's true.
Yeah. Because every movie he does, he's playing the same guy, and they're entertaining as all hell.
Yep.
Just you know what it is,
Butler,
you know what it's not.
Gerard Butler's in the same boat. When you name a movie Plane, and that's the name of the movie, and just, the plane crashes and you and the surviving convict are going to save everybody. All right, cool. That's the movie.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
So you go to that Brooklyn warehouse, which I know they shot Maisel at. They shot Marvelous Maisel. Oh, maybe not. That's Netflix Prime, two different things. But so then what was the steps after that? Did you, 1 week later, you're there, like having your first job?
About a week later, like I show up for rehearsals, and they're walking me through the gambit. It's a prison fight of what's going to happen, and the other stunt performers over there were walking me through, like, taking punch reactions, cadence and tempo, and like how it's going to go on set. So it was like an 8-hour crash course on what was going to happen, which, to me, I was like, okay, cool. You start to figure it out. And obviously I had tons of work to do. And we went through the rehearsal, and, one of the performers that I was performing with, not to be too redundant, his name is Jeremy Sample. Amazing performer, great human being. He's one of my brothers, but he's a moose of a human being. Like Jeremy's about 6'1", 6'2", well over 200 pounds. He played football for Notre Dame. Like, if he hits you, you got hit. And again, he's not malicious about it, but there's intentionality behind his performance, which is what every performer should strive to have. And we went through a fight, and I couldn't keep up with him. I just couldn't. And he looked at me, he's like, you need to work on your reactions. I was like, okay. He said, you need to work on this. Yep. You need to work on this. Copy that. Went home, took everything he said, wrote it down, started working on everything. Started working on head reactions, on punch reactions. And, you do it in front of the mirror. You put a phone and you record yourself doing it to see if it looks ridiculous, which it does, because you're doing it without anybody punching you.
Yeah.
But just to get the proper timing and the head snap and going in the right direction and doing omnidirectional reactions, whether it's dead on or to the side or downward. So you have a library to pick from when it comes time to actually shoot. And yeah, it was the best piece of advice I could have gotten at that time in my career.
Wow. And that was for Iron Fist? Was that?
That was for the first season of Luke Cage.
Oh, okay. So first season Luke
Yeah.
Cage, you get that. You get so
Yep.
that comes out, and then how does the next? Is it just once you get into the system, the stunt coordinator say, "Hey Vic, I have this other project," or are you looking for auditions? You have an agent after this, or
I mean, at that time, again, this is pre-COVID, and I had done like a music video or like little things, indie things here and there prior to that. This is like my first big professional, like, oh, this is actually a job.
yeah.
Not so much like a pastime, but like I'll do it whenever I can. So I had been in front of a camera before.
Oh, okay.
I just never thought this could be how I make my living.
Yeah.
After that, we have this thing in the community called hustling, which, as wild as it sounds, you start to liaise with other stunt performers. You start to ask people that you run into on set, like, hey, I'm new, obviously. How do I go about XYZ? And they're like, well, you got to start getting your name out there. I'm like, well, how? You hustle. I'm like, well, what is that? So basically you would find out through word of mouth where they were shooting on a set that was open, meaning not in a studio, not in somewhere that is locked. And you kind of find out through either someone that's there or through someone that is going to be there if the stunt coordinator is there. And you show up. It's ridiculous. There is an element of like, damn, am I loitering or breaking in? You show up,
Yeah.
and you find a spot where you can hang out, and hopefully the stunt coordinator, he or she shows up. You run into them, you introduce yourself, shake the hand, probably drop off the resume if they want it or the headshot, and be like, hey, I'm new. Hey, I just wanted to come say hi, blah, blah. And it's a roll of the dice. Sometimes you might run into someone when they're too busy to take care of you or listen to you, and all right, well, caught them on a bad day. Sometimes you might run into someone that'll be like, hey, this is great, but I don't have anything for you right now. Okay, cool. And sometimes you run into people that are like, okay, hey, this looks okay, cool. I'll save this and, we'll see what happens. And maybe you get a call, maybe you don't. But that was literally the genesis of my journey. It's like, I had a job at the time. I had a 9 to 5, managing sites and for another company. So I would take my time off of work to go do that. I would get off of work at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and then run to a set and like bring all my stuff and maybe, hey, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Victor, blah, blah, blah. Here's my little, resume. Nice to blah, blah. And, you roll the dice and see what happens.
Yeah, it's like sales. You're getting your name out there, press and flesh, and then they, like you said, maybe they call you, maybe they don't, but at least you have some sort of impression. Is maybe when you see him a month, a year down there, hey, you're the guy that popped in on set, and that's how you got to do it. So wow. So when did you see what do you remember? Not to go through every credit, but do you remember the one that you got when it was like, okay, now I know I can do this, because you're still doing the 9 to 5, like you said, at this point, and then popping over to a set. Was there one that changed it for you, that you were able to get a role and you're like, shit, I know I can do this as a career?
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family.
I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
Get business done with the new American Express Graphite Business Cash Unlimited card. With unlimited 2% cash back on all eligible purchases. Unlimited 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through American Express Travel Online. And a flexible spending capacity that can grow with your business. You'll have the confidence to keep building. Apply today and earn a welcome offer of $1,500 cash back after you spend $50,000 in qualifying purchases on your new card within the first 6 months of card membership. Terms apply. Learn more at go.amex/graphite.
I don't think there was anything specific that made me make the leap as far as a project. I think it was more of like you start picking up work more and more and more to the point that you can no longer attend to your other responsibilities because this is taking over.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of deciding whether or not you're hitting a stride, or it's just a moment in time where like, well, I got lucky and then everything dies. And you have to make that decision. You have to jump all the way into the water or stay out, because there's no way to go about it. And it got to a point that, I had made a very, very, very small name for myself. I guess people knew I wasn't a knucklehead, and I was, I could take orders and make adjustments on the fly. And it got to a point that I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? Like, is this going to be work, or am I going to treat this as a side gig, or am I going to let go of, what most people would consider financial stability and go into this thing where I'm freelancing and take a risk? And I had a conversation with my parents and the people that I trust the most about it. And they were like, is this what you want to do for a living? And I said, yeah, I do love what you do. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love my job. I'd rather do nothing else in the world but this. And my dad was like, then go for it. Like, this opportunity may never arise ever again. So I did it. And thank God it was the right decision. There is a little bit of I guess the closest thing I could equate it to is a little bit of like buyer's remorse. That you make the decision and then you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Oh my God,
right?
did I make the right?
Yeah.
Jesus, like, what if this doesn't work out? What if I mess up? What if I get injured and I can't perform anymore? Because there always is that risk of like, you might get injured. What if the film industry picks up and completely leaves New York and I'm stuck here with, twiddling my thumbs because I got nothing to do now.
Yeah.
So there's always all these things that are outside of your control that are in your head about, did I make the right decision or not? And you just have to go for it and hope to God everything works out.
Yeah, because if you don't, like you said, like the other people that are going after those same roles, like they might be going full bore into it and they're available all the time. And like you said, you can only take so many hours off of work. It's like, yeah, I got this job. I'm going to take this week off. And it gets to this point and you're like, but yeah, did that happen early on? Because 2017, it looked like you hit the ground running. There were a lot of credits that year that you're in, like Power, Narcos, Gotham.
Yeah. Well, that started to really pick up. Power, Gotham, and then Black Panther happened in Atlanta, and like that was another big one that I was like, I have to do this. I have to go and make my way down there and figure it out. And it's a big Marvel Disney film with all the trimmings. It was the first primarily all black cast, black director. It was a huge deal. So that was another one that I was like, all right, well, here we go.
Yeah.
But no regrets.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Were you always doing like, do you mostly do fight scenes, or are you doing stunts as well? Are you doing like jumping off a build? Are you doing anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've been set on fire. I've been hit by a car.
So you do it all. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've gone down flights of stairs. I've gone out glass windows, glass doors, through tables. Jumped off of like a 3-story balcony. Yeah.
So early on, did you know that was part of it? Like when you went for that first audition by getting shot and thinking you're doing martial arts, did you? Okay. Then one day you showed up and they're like, you know what? Instead of fighting today, we need you to jump off this building.
Well, you find the community.
Yeah.
And within the community, you find people to train with, and you find your people to train with. And, if you're smart enough, you start asking questions like, hey, what do I need? Because that's like the number one thing, right? You need gear, you need pads, you need back pads, you need a jerk vest, you need a helmet, you need all these things. You almost have to invest money before you start making money, because you can't show up empty-handed with no pads and then go down a flight of stairs and break something.
Yeah.
So you start to ask the guys like, hey, what padding should I buy? Like football padding, volleyball padding, like BMX, like where do I get the gear? Because that's another thing. Like, I don't know where to get all this stuff.
Yeah.
So you see somebody else's kit and you start picking their brains and asking them questions like, hey, like, where did you get this? And like, what size and how much did you pay? And like, where should I go? And like, so you start building up your kit so that way when you do get the call, you're able to do the gags. And then you start asking like, hey, like, how do I train falling from height? How do I train getting hit by a car? Like, what does it feel like to be set on fire? Like, what are the do's and don'ts? what do I do if I have to go down a flight of stairs and I got to go backwards, or I got to go down with someone? And you start to figure out the minutia of everything that the job entails. And you also figure out like, okay, I'm cool with this. I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's different for everybody.
Yeah. And one thing that's stunt, like you said, you have to ask around. There is no is there any official stunt school anywhere that people could be like, I want to do this? Which to me is shocking.
Yeah, if I had $1 every time I could ask that question. There are training facilities depending on where you go. It's not necessarily a school where there's like a curriculum and, there's like a graduation per se. There are gyms in Atlanta, there's gyms in New York, there's gyms in California that are primarily run by stunt people that you can go there and train. Sometimes they'll have invited guests that come and teach workshops, whether it's on fighting or firearms or gymnastics or sword work or staff work, falling. And, you pay your fee, you take your session and add it to your resume. And there's weekly training at some of these places. There's, schedules. Sometimes they have extensive workshops. So again, it's a matter of once you become familiar with the community, you start to figure out, oh, here's the Facebook page for this.
Yeah.
Here's the Instagram page for that. Here's my Facebook page for this training group. And then you again, within your financial means, figure out how to train because it's not cheap either.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Just the bags alone, like you don't think about that part. Like you mentioned, the gear you have to buy. I talked to Ken Kiersenior, who played Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason and a ton of other stuff throughout like the 80s and 90s. He was part of that big Vancouver boom when they were starting to film all the shows out there. So he had a lot of work doing that. And he talked about just like how many different bags he had to have. Like one way, hey, this is my burn bag. I got to make sure I have all this stuff. If there's a burn, here's the bag for all this other stuff. And he just talked about like trying to learn early on. Like it was that just like asking around because there's no like, hey, this is how you do it. Even special effects makeup. There are schools, but it's not as many as you would think. It's more of getting on set, having somebody mentor you and help you out. So did you have a lot of those mentors? You mentioned the kid from Notre Dame that gave you some advice. Were there other ones over the years when you were working on all these different sets that?
Yeah. I mean, they're, again, it's kind of like being in the martial arts community, right? You have like your base martial art, which mine is Muay Thai and, Jeet Kune Do. And then you start running into other people. Like this person does Kung Fu and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I like that move. Can you show me that? Or this person does Taekwondo, or this person does Jiu-Jitsu, or this person is a wrestler. So every person you run into, you have an exchange of information, and that's how you wind up building up your skill set, right? It's a communal experience when you run into someone and you see that they're better than you, or they can do something that you can't, or you still haven't figured out. Yeah, go pick their brain and ask them like, hey man, I'm having trouble doing that move. How do you do that? Or like, how do I do that to my bad side? Or how do I do that from standing? How do I do that from height? And, thankfully, every performer that I've run into that I've had a question about how to perform something or do something safely has been very welcoming, very open to sharing their knowledge. And that has a lot to help me build my skill set up.
Yeah, that's good when the community is like that. I've heard stories about other things. It was like an actor, and it was like a famous story of what's his name, the guy who was in Batman. He plays Alfred, and then Michael Caine. This guy I interviewed worked with Michael Caine on a movie, and he told a story about Michael Caine when he was younger, asking some old British actor, "Hey, can you give me tips on something?" And he goes, "I'm not telling you anything." He's, well, that's kind of rude. Why? And he was like, because if I teach you, then you're going to take my job. And I'm like, I get that, but you need to pass it off to the next generation. But that's, yeah.
Yeah. There is always that crabs in a bucket mentality when it comes to Hollywood, because that the moment you say no, there's somebody right behind you willing to do what you won't do.
Yep. And
you're in competition with a lot of people. Like I have even my own coworkers, as much as I love those guys, I know there's certain guys that I have to compete with when a role arises. I'm 6 feet, 190 pounds, Afro Latino. And I know that anybody that's my same skin tone, my height and weight, they're going to be looking at them as much as they're looking at me.
Yeah.
And granted, you can't have them all. You just can't. That's just the way the universe works. So whenever they get a job, at least for my perspective, I never look at that and go, well, why them and why not me? I go, you know what? It went to one of the homies. God bless. I hope it all works out.
Yeah.
But I've seen people get very bitter because they see someone else progress or get a job that they feel should have went to them. And there's like this weird, why you, why not me mentality. And it's like, no, there's enough to go around for all of us. It's just, this isn't your time.
Yeah.
Your time will come. Just be patient.
Yeah, no, that gives off bad energy. If you're focusing on like what you didn't have, then an opportunity could definitely go past you. So Vic, when you get onto a set for like, let's say, not even a burn, let's just say like a fall, what's the process? Like, let's say, like you said, the jumping from the balcony. Like, what is the process of that setup? Obviously, they have like the assistant stunt coordinator. Like, there's a lot of people involved explaining here's how it's going to go. But what are the steps? Have you sort of practicing it, fully practicing it? How do they usually do that?
You usually go and, they've already scouted the location. They know what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. They know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. Yeah. So you show up, look at it. They set up a catch depending on the height, right? If it's something, like say it's like a 6-foot drop, they'll put pads down, but there's not as dense as they would be like if you're dropping from like 20 feet. Because obviously speed, gravity, and everything else, works its magic. So you assess the height and pad everything up according to the variables. You pad where you're going to hit and everything else on each side, because if you miss or roll off, you don't want to smack yourself into the concrete.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of providing all the safety measures that can be placed as possible within reason in case something happens to go awry. Then, you go to the script and you figure it out. Like, okay, well, it says here you're falling after taking a punch. Because sometimes you're not just falling, you're falling as a consequence of something else.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure that part out. I was like, all right, well, if you're fighting here and that's the structure that you have to go off of, if you take the punch this way, how do you want to go off? Do you want to go off straight backwards? You want to turn and then go forwards? You want to go sideways? And that's kind of really up to the coordinator to tell you, like, hey, can you take this way? Or are you comfortable with that? Like, which is your better side? Which way do you want to come off of the balcony? Do you want to twist? Do you want this? Do you want that? And you kind of have a conversation and present options of like, hey, this is the best course of action, or this is what I have that I can physically do, and figure it out. And, then we shoot the previs, which is the pre-visualization so they can show the director of like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. Well, fight, person goes off the balcony, camera tracks, well, boom, lands here. And, and this is where the stunt performer lands. And if you want, we can have him land, hide his face. And then we can, cut to the actor doing this, getting up. So that way, you have a match. So that's how you usually go about it, right? Have there been instances where it's like, hey, this is what it is, take it or leave it? Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah.
Because the director has a very specific vision of what he wants to see. And the coordinator's job is to work hand in hand with the director, right? Because you're there to serve a bigger purpose. Granted, you're there to serve that bigger purpose safely. But sometimes you do run into a director that has a very specific vision of what they want to see, of what they have in their head that thing is supposed to look like. And you have to get as close to it or get to it as safely as possible.
Yeah. But is there like a lot of rehearsals to it? First, it depends probably, right? The severity
It's very situational. Like sometimes if it's something really big, then you might have a couple of days, maybe a week of rehearsal. If it's something not that big, you might do it on the day.
Yeah.
Or you might rehearse the day before and do it the next day. Or you might rehearse it in the morning and then do it later on in the afternoon. Usually if it's a really big gag, you should have a couple days. Maybe you'll prep the week before, you'll run it again the same week, and then you're ready to rock and roll. Especially if it's on a bigger feature where the camera department has to rehearse with you as well. That it's not just you, but the camera guy doesn't want to start chasing you around on the day while the meter's running and trying to figure out where the hell you're going to go. So they show up to rehearsal. So sometimes you have to wait for them to be done whatever they're doing to then come to rehearse with the stunt guys to see what you're doing so they can then set up camera and go, all right, so you're coming off of there and you're in midair here and this is where your landing point. Okay, cool. Can you show me that again? And then you rep it a million times and they go, oh, okay, yeah, if we put this camera here and that camera there, I think we can catch it and we'll shoot this on this lens, shoot on that lens. So again, it's a cohesive job that you have to have because there's so many things that are involved.
Yeah.
And sometimes the costume department gets involved as well, but you don't want to wear something that's going to restrict your movement when you're falling 20 freaking feet to a pad.
Yeah.
Because if they give you something that's too tight, you're coming off, it could hinder your performance or hurt you.
Yeah. Now, are like movies ruined for you for now doing this for 12 plus years, right? Like watching a movie, especially one thing I never noticed, I talked to a costume designer for the first time last year, and she told me something that blew my mind. She was like, I can watch a show and tell you like when a stunt's coming or something's coming. I'm like, how do you know? She's like, because they use like the backup clothing that they really don't care about if something happens to it, because something's going to be moving around. Is there something that when you're watching something, obviously when the people don't look, which is so bad in like 80s, 90s, even some 2000s, when you have like a guy doing a stunt for a woman and the guy's wearing a wig. But have you noticed that a lot more watching?
Yes, it does stick out more now that, especially because I know like how the machine works. I wouldn't say that it's ruined film for me because I love all aspects of film. Like I watch a movie and I don't even, I don't just necessarily watch the stunts, but I look at like something like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Like Nosferatu blew my mind because I was like, the costume design was gorgeous. The score was amazing. The way the scenes were color graded, everything looked like a painting. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, as a visual medium, you're like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I look at film a little differently than just like, oh, that guy took a punch the wrong way. This sucks.
Yeah.
And again, there are people that can't separate that. They just look at, this is the thing that I do. Let me see if they mess it up. What does kind of take me out of a movie is because I have so many friends and so many colleagues in the business. If I'm watching a movie and all of a sudden I see a face that I recognize, I'm like, oh, somebody's about to die in the next 5 minutes. So-and-so's on. Yep, that person's on camera. Something's about to happen.
You see your friend walk in, you're like, oh shit, he's about to get shot.
Yeah. So that aspect of it is a little ruined for me because as soon as I see a familiar face, I'm like, oh, somebody's about to catch it in the next 6 seconds. All right, who is it? And then it happens and I'm like, oh shit, they got you. But it does take you out a little bit because they're your friends, and
Yeah. I just think sometimes from being on set, from people I talk to, whether it be an actor or behind the scenes work, it's just like, what goes into putting that shot together, like where the camera should be, like where, like all these different positions or even special effects, like, hey, that was shown too earlier. That doesn't look right. But yeah, no, film, no matter what, when you're watching, you can enjoy it. I'm saying just your specific aspect, knowing stunts and how something could, how it should go versus how sometimes it just, that take ends up on camera. Maybe it was done correctly, but they chose the wrong take where a punch, like you said, went the wrong way or.
I mean, with that, yeah, but it's very subjective, right? Because what might seem visually appeasing to me might seem awkward to someone else. And I guess as a performer, you kind of have to take that into context of like, what am I looking at? Right? Like if I'm watching a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, there's a certain style of fighting that they have to have that might not necessarily be very realistic or might not be like, oh, well, that wouldn't work. Because, you're watching pirates fighting.
Yeah.
Versus when you're watching like Jason Bourne take somebody out, that it's a little more hyper realistic. It's more close quarters combat. Everything's to the point. Like he's in there to wreck shop, take somebody out and move on. Or when you see John Wick and like he's in a room with like, 8 to 10 guys and he's shooting everybody and their mother and he's just covering himself up with the lapel of his jacket. you know what you're walking into when you sat down and watched a movie. So don't expect anything else but what you agreed to sit down and watch.
Yeah.
And I think as long as like you temper your expectations of understanding what you signed up to watch, right? It kind of bothers me sometimes when people watch a movie and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe." I'm like, "Well, that's what you signed up to watch, right?" Like when you're watching, if you're gonna watch King Kong versus Godzilla and you're pissed off because they're destroying half the city, it's like, what do you think was gonna happen?
Yeah,
it's a giant lizard and a giant monkey. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Or, you're watching a superhero movie and they're tearing the city apart because they're smacking you, and you don't necessarily see anyone dying or exploding into a million pieces like you would, like Invincible or The Boys, and people go, "I can't believe." I'm like, you're watching a being flying through the air, zapping people. Like, what part of that did your brain not compute? Like, what did you think you were going to sit down and watch?
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/small business.
You may think you know McDonald's drinks, but you don't know them like this. From fruity refreshers like the Strawberry Watermelon Refresher and the Mango Pineapple Refresher with popping boba, to crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry-flavored Sprite topped with cold foam. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? 6 all-new drinks are here. Try them all, now at McDonald's. Refreshers contain caffeine.
Yeah, I know. There was that one show that was like a DC show that was on NBC. I think it only lasted like maybe even half a season, but it took that idea. It was like Ron Funches was in it, Alan Tudyk.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Tudyk was like Batman's nephew. And in the show, they talked about that. They were like the insurance company for the superheroes. So if something happened, they would like assess it and fix it. It was really silly. It was an okay show, but it was like, it ran its course pretty quick. But then that is funny that you mentioned it. But yeah, when you get in a movie, you're like, whatever, this is reality. Like, even like I said, I watched Van Damme's Sudden Death last night. There's even some scenes in that movie you're just like, how do these things even come to be? Like, he's a fire inspector, and even the opening scene is tragic. I don't know if you remember the opening scene. He's a firefighter, and he's saving the girl, and he's giving her the oxygen. They come in to save, and she's dead. And then it's like 2 years later, and then you cut to the playoff game. But yeah, oh my God, yeah.
To me, it's like, understand what you signed up to watch.
Yeah,
and then enjoy it for what it is. You can either sit there and watch something and tear it down for what it's not doing, or enjoy it for what it is doing.
Yeah.
Are you entertained? Cool. I mean, to quote Russell Crowe, were you entertained? Like, did it take you out of whatever mundane thing you had to do that day? Did it let you forget about your bills, your boss, like all the things that are going wrong in your life or not going your way? If in those 2 hours that you sat down in the theater or in front of your TV or your phone, were you able to escape? Did you have a good time? Did you laugh? Did you feel something? What does it matter?
Yeah. 100%.
What does it matter? Like, we're the only, not the only reason, but like one of the main reasons why we enjoy going to the theater so much is the escapism of it. It's a communal, like, I think one of the best feelings on the planet is when you go to a movie theater and you have a really good crowd.
Yeah.
Especially like I remember when I watched Spider-Man No Way Home, and the scene pops up where all 3 Spider-Men are on camera. You have Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. And people in like the front 4 rows like stood up, like standing ovation. People were going crazy. But we all felt the same elation of like, oh shit, they pulled it off. Like, we're getting like 3 Spider-Mans, and like this is about to get crazy.
Yeah.
Enjoy it for what it is.
Exactly. And you're in that one? Is that the one you worked on?
I was part of the SWAT team that came in and arrested Happy. And
okay.
And that bit, I think it's outside of the lab, I believe it is. I can't even remember. But, again, it's like, I remember being a kid and wishing that these movies looked the way they look now.
Oh, I know.
Like I remember when the 89 Batman came out, and my dad took me to the theater, and it was like this whole big deal that like Batman was a movie. Because up until then, all we had was Adam West and Burt Ward and,
Yeah.
Cesar Romero on the Batman TV show. That was way before I was born. So it was the first time that you would get to see Batman in a theater. And it was this whole thing because it was Tim Burton, and the guy who did Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, and I was doing Batman, and it's kind of noir, and Jack Nicholson's the Joker, and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
And Keaton, Mr. Mom, they bashed that so bad. Yeah.
Exactly. And Batman was all in black. It wasn't the traditional gray and blue outfit. The car was totally different. Like, it was just, they changed the entire world, but still kept the lore. And I remember walking out of the theater like you couldn't get me to shut up about that movie.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it just I was floored. I couldn't believe it. And I think the same thing happened the first time that I saw Wesley Snipes in Blade.
Yeah.
That till this day I think that is the best opening sequence to a comic book film.
Is that the one
Like
at the subway? The club scene's the first movie. Okay.
The club scene with the blood rave, and then he walked and the crowd parts, and he's just standing there in his trench coat, and I was like,
yeah.
And then the fight kicks off, and the techno music kicks in, and he's beating everybody's ass, and he's got the stiletto out, the sword, and again, it was just like, what am I watching right now?
Yeah, such a good movie. Stephen Dorff is the bad guy. That's so.
Oh
good.
my God, it's such a good film. Till this day, we just watched it probably about 5 months ago, and I'm like, this movie still holds up.
Yeah,
it still holds up. Still, Wesley Snipes is just such a badass in that movie.
Yeah. So when it came to like the early, you talked to your family, you talked to your mom and dad, like, hey, is this going to be when was the first time they saw you in something that they were like, oh my God, that was you? Because I'm sure it's got to be scary when you're explaining, hey, what'd you do at work today? I set myself on fire, Mom.
I can't remember what it was. When my mom saw me get murdered on something. And
she knew something was up because you showed up and she told her friends.
Yeah.
Something's about to happen.
Yeah. And, I usually call my mom, on Sundays or on the weekends to catch up and see how she's doing and see how the family's doing. And there was like this, like this sniffling on the phone. I'm like, Ma, you okay? And she's like, oh my God, I saw whatever show it was and they killed you and it was so brutal and I can't believe it. And I'm like, oh no. Because it's the first time she gets to see her son getting murdered.
Yeah.
Even though it's pretend, but the visual of seeing me getting shot and blood coming out and me dying for her was so much. She was like, oh my God, I don't think I can. And she flipped out for a little bit. And, I laughed because I was like, I get it, right? Like to her, it seems so foreign to see her child getting massacred on camera. And I'm like, I had the best time of my life. It was so great. And she's like, so I think to her, that was the one that she was like, the initial shock of it. But after that, she's gotten used to it. Yeah. I think the harder part was explaining to her what my job entailed because, my parents' generation, like being a stunt performer and actor was kind of like, no. Like, you went to school, you studied, you got a job either in trade or a profession, you were a mechanic or a doctor or something. The arts weren't a thing that could pay the bills.
Yeah.
So when I first told her what I was doing, she was like, so you're in the show? I'm like, yeah. Are you on the poster? I'm like, no. Okay. But you're with the actors. I'm like, yeah. Am I going to see you? And I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. And she was just like, but so are you in the trailer? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't edit the trailer. So to her, it was like all these things that her brain perceives as like being in a film. Like you're in the poster. Are you in the trailer? are you talking with the actors and acting on camera? And I'm like, no, I'm the guy that the actor beats up that you kind of don't, you see, but you don't really see. That's my job. And she was like, oh, okay. And her brain just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So that I think was a harder part of like explaining to her of like, I'm there, but you're not supposed to really notice me that much.
Oh man. And I'm sure there's some roles that I'm sure you've had over the years that you're more on camera that you're like, oh, okay. That this is more involved, some scenes that you could be like, okay, mom, here I am fully. I know this is it.
Yeah, I think the first time that it happened, at least on a big screen, I did Black Adam, and there's a scene where the Rock has me and this other performer named Tommy Watson, who's a very good friend of mine, and he grabs us by the neck and like elevates us, flies us up into the sky, and then Hawkman and everybody else is watching, and then he just drops us, and then Hawkman swoops in and catches us. But it was like on us, like by the neck while Dwayne is holding us up, and then he drops, and you see us like midair flailing, falling to our death, and then we get saved. And after we get saved, we start to run away because we're playing mercenaries, and he zaps us with lightning and like cooks us, and then we drop to the ground. And I remember my mom being like, because the Rock is like one of her favorite actors.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Which is kind of my fault because like I used to watch the WWE and she would sit down and watch it with me just to spend time with me. Now,
that guy's pretty handsome. That guy's a smooth talker, right? Yeah.
Oh, listen, if The Rock makes a commercial for lemons, she's got to watch the damn thing. And so to see her son on camera with her favorite actor, to her was like, and then I had to answer 50 billion questions. What's he like? Was he nice? Is he really that big on camera? Did he hurt you? What does he smell like? And I'm like, oh my God, Lord.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably that. And then when I did the 3rd season of Narcos on Netflix, I think is the one thing that the majority of my friends recognize me for, because very much a heavily featured scene, and it was myself and a couple of performers, and then one of the actors, and then Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian that's known as Fluffy.
Yeah, Fluffy.
Yeah, he was in the scene with us, and it was I'm a big fan of that show, so it was really cool to be in that, and then have him be there too, because I've seen him do stand-up a million times. And yeah, that was another one that people were like, oh my God, did I just see you get shot on Narcos? And I would get like text messages, and my friends would be recording their TV. Yo, they just killed you. And I was like, yeah, they killed me. That's part of the script.
Yeah, right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, like when you look back at your career that's still obviously going, do you have a stunt that you, not even while you're doing like on camera, that you think looks best, that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I did that? Or
definitely the White House sequence in Captain America: Brave New World. Like jumping out of the window, and like that whole scene when Isaiah Bradley tries to kill the president, was Harrison Ford, and like hell breaks loose and a fight ensues, and he's like just running through the White House, throwing tables and furniture at people, and he jumps out of the window. I remember we shot that at probably like 2:00 in the morning, at Tyler Perry Studios, and it was that entire day was for the Isaiah Bradley sequence. So I knew when I got to set that day that like this is gonna be Isaiah's moment, where like he's super soldiered out, like he's on the run, he's wrecking shop, he's going through a window, he's just trying to get away. And Carl Lumley, who plays Isaiah Bradley, who's a very near and dear friend, that man is an inspiration. He's such a kind, warm-hearted person, has stories for days, and is such a wealth of knowledge, and he's just great to have around. And having to look at Carl, because I'm doubling him, and I have to look at how does he walk, how does he move when he's running, does he run with his arms up, does he run with his arms out, Does he run pitch forward? Does he run, a little bit more upright and prone? So you have to look at every single detail of your actor. How do they move? How do they conduct themselves? Is he right-handed? Is he left-handed? Does he hike his shoulders when he does certain things? Does he slump? Does he have bad posture, good posture? And then present that in camera in an action sequence so you can't tell whether it's him or me on camera. And obviously you want to do a good job because of the reverence that the character has, because it is Captain America, because it is the first time that we're seeing a Black Captain America on screen.
Yeah.
Because it's that turning point for that character. And as far as my career goes, I think that's the one that I'm the most proud of, because it's the one that carried the most amount of weight to it, of having to put on, a good performance. Everything had to be firing on all cylinders. Like there was no room for error. And Carl trained his ass off. Like literally, Carl would train 2-3 hours a day.
Wow.
And the man's in his 70s. And we would have to kick him out of the workout space because you're like, go home, you're done. We're tired. Go home.
Yeah.
So he set the bar pretty high of like, this is where this has to go. So to be able to pull that off and see it in theaters and have it live forever now, it's Shield is back there.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, and incidentally, that one was the one that Carl gave me when we wrapped.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a mock-up of like what Isaiah Bradley's shield is in the comics, and it's wood burned. And when we wrapped, he, summoned me to his hotel room, and I went over and met his partner, and I gave him a watch that had Isaiah Bradley's unit number inscribed on the bracelet.
Oh.
And he gave me that, and we had a home moment. So yeah, that one means a lot.
That's special, man. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
No, especially working with someone, especially like you mentioned, anytime working on set, it's very intimate, a scene, but especially when you're doubling someone. And like you mentioned, it's so cool that you saw how much he was putting into it. And like, you are going to put it that much into it anyway, but it's almost like it motivates you even more. Like, shit, this guy's busting his ass working out. I got to make sure I nail everything. But like you said, like, cause it can take you out of something if you're watching the way he runs or, is doing something, and then it cuts to where it's you. And then it's like, well, this kind of looks totally different. Like this changes, but at least you care. That's amazing to hear that from a stuntman. I don't know if I've ever asked that question or if somebody's brought it up, but yeah, making sure you're nailing all the mannerisms so it's seamless.
Yeah, oddly enough, it's funny because when I first started doubling Carl on that show, and we started doing fight scenes, I forgot about the age gap in between us and how he moves versus how I move. And I'm moving how I move. So I'm like, spry, I'm punching, I'm slipping, I'm throwing. And we finished the scene, and my one of the coordinators comes over to me and he goes, "Hey, that was really good. Stop moving like a young man." And I was like, "Oh shit." And we all laughed at it. He goes, "It's good. Stop moving like a young man." I was like, "Sorry, sir."
Yeah.
So, you go back and make the adjustments to like pay more attention to how Carl moves. Like, how does he run? How does he this? How does he that? To like give them what they want.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's all. And right now you got some good stuff out there. Daredevil Born Again recently came out.
Episode 8 just dropped last night that I was in. Yeah.
The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Yeah.
In theaters right now. What kind of stunts did you do in that movie?
Devil Wears Prada was something like super minute. I haven't seen it, so I don't even know if what I did is
in that, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, is in there. But it's essentially it's a scene where what's her name? I can't even remember her name right now. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry about that.
Anne Hathaway?
No, Krasinski's wife.
Oh, Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. She's in a hotel and she's like making her way from one side of the hotel to the other. She's like running into everybody. She runs into like the caterer or like the wardrobe people. And it's like one of those, like, she keeps like getting smacked. It's semi comedic because she's like almost running into things as she's trying to get to where she's got to get to. And I'm like one of the guys that's catering and has a little cart. It's like, oh, like, like dodge her as she's getting through. Again, it's easy day. And she was amazing, super nice. Her husband's nice as well. So, that always helps.
Yeah, I never knew that Stanley Tucci was married to her sister. They met on the set of that first movie.
I didn't know that either.
And she's a lot younger than the Tooch.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah.
Hey, man. God bless.
Yeah, power to him. But, yeah, no, this has been so much fun. You already kind of like that shield, that gift. That's an amazing story. Over the years, were there any other mementos that you kept? Did you keep like scripts early on? Or were you just like, oh my God, this is so wild that this is happening? Like that you didn't think about that stuff?
Yeah, not really. Again, sometimes things are happening so fast.
Yeah.
That you don't realize. And like, there's been certain shows that they'll give you like a shirt as a wrap gift or a hoodie. So I have like some shirts and some hats and stuff as mementos of like when I was on a team. When we did Freaky Tales in Oakland, California, with Jay Ellis. And it's a Jay Ellis, Ben Mendelsohn, Pedro Pascal, and Tom Hanks has a cameo in the movie. There were certain swords and weapons that we used because Jay Ellis, I was doubling Jay Ellis, and his character is supposed to have like a vest with a bunch of edged weapons on. It's like throwing knives, and he pulls out a sword, and like he just pulls out a million things out of his vest and just wrecks shop. So I kept like one of the training weapons that we had as like a reminder, and stuff like that. But like other than that, like I don't really think I have anything.
There's only so much you can keep, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude. And you wind up accumulating so much crap between like training weapons, rubber weapons, gifts and hats and this and that. That some stuff you're like, I don't need this.
I know.
Yeah, like some stuff I've given to my dad.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
my dad is a film nerd too. So I'm like, hey, here's this from Captain America. Here's this from this. And he'll be like, oh my God. And he'll wear it left and right. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. No, I've talked to people and they're like plagued by it. They're like, yeah, I have a whole stack of scripts that I don't know which kid I'm going to leave it with. Like just for movies that they were, this guy, Troy Evans, who's been in a million things. And he's like, yeah, in my closet, it's just like a pile of them. Another guy had all the, he was in a few Stallone movies, but he had like the rap shirts and he showed me a few of them. He goes, I don't wear these. He's like, I'm not going to wear my cliffhanger rap shirt to the gym or something. So he's like, I'll give it to a niece or nephew one day. But, yeah, it's hard to think about it. Like, it's like anything. Like, you never know, like, when you were a kid, like, you never know the last time you're going to get together with your buddies and shoot hoops or play, like, when you're going to, like, quote unquote, grow up, So even when you're on a set for the first time or on a job or anything for the first time, you don't think about that stuff because everything's so new, everything's so amazing. So I always thought to ask that question because you never think about that stuff.
It's weird. You don't think about it at first, and then the more you get into your career, the more you start to realize, like, oh, maybe I'll get a hat, maybe I'll get a shirt, maybe I'll get a hoodie. And then you get some of the stuff, and it's all nice stuff, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't want to wear it out in public because you don't want to draw attention. Like, I have a couple of jackets from stuff that I've done, like, little bombers and stuff, and they have like the logo of whatever production it was on. And I'll wear it because it's warm. It fits nice. So whatever. And, go outside to go grab coffee or something. And then automatically someone's on goes, oh my God, did you work on blah, blah, blah? And you're like, what? Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. And and then you have to go through the, the interrogation of like, what does the actor like? And
what
who
did
have
he
you
smell
run
like?
into?
And you're like, Mom.
Yeah. Or the usual people go like, so like, who's the most famous person you've worked with? And you're like, or what are they like? Or do you know this person? Or what are they like? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we were on set for like 8 hours, but out of the 8 hours, I saw them for like 2 hours. We don't hang out. Like, I don't know. It's not like, I call them up for Christmas and be like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? You want to come over? Like,
yeah.
So sometimes you don't want to wear the stuff because you don't want the unnecessary attention.
Yeah.
You don't want to become the sum of what you do for a living.
Nah,
and sometimes you just want to be left alone. You just want to go from point A to point B. The handful of people that I know that have a certain level of fame, I see what they go through sometimes when we go out to grab dinner, and I'm like, how do you deal with this on a daily basis? And again, everyone's built different and everybody's threshold is different. But sometimes, you'll be out to dinner with a colleague or a coworker and they are someone in the industry, but they're just your friend and they're catching up. And someone will literally be standing right by your table, like,
that's wild.
And you'll acknowledge the person, but, oh my God, I love you so much. And I loved you in this film and you were so great in this show. I don't really mean to bother you, but can I take a picture? And yeah, and of course, yeah, sure. And automatically, as soon as that first photo happens, the door opens because everyone else in the restaurant goes, why is this person taking a picture? Who are they? And then the next person shows up 15 minutes later. Oh my God, I just noticed you're here. And you're like, oh, we're never going to get through this meal.
Yeah. That's what kind of ruined everything with cell phones, is just having a camera ready at all times, and kids can be filmed. Like, I couldn't imagine being in high school. Like when I graduated in 2005, and I think I had a camera that took really, really crappy video that you couldn't even look at. I couldn't imagine being in high school and doing some of the stuff that I did, not like illegal, just going about my everyday and having everything on video or cameras. But now people have cameras and people are so obsessed with taking pictures of people, and people are starved for it. Like TMZ follows actors that you're like, okay, why are we following this person? Like the Malcolm in the Middle kid, the youngest brother.
Yeah.
Like he's getting followed while he's at Cornell or something. He's like or whatever normal job he has. They're like following him. And it's like, okay, can we just there has to be some set of boundaries, but not in our today's world. That's not going to happen.
No. And I've been on set so many times where the paparazzi photographers will show up and, 9 times out of 10, they're around so much that the set security and the production already knows who the person is.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of liaise with them and negotiate like, hey, we'll let you take photos, but can we just get through this first? And then we'll, you can take photos with just as long as don't be a pain in the ass. And you kind of work hand in hand with them because, usually that person's just there to make a living. They're not there to cause a ruckus or disturb production or anything else. They're just there to take their photos and go sell them and go to the next set and do the same thing.
Yeah.
But, when I first got into the business, it was so shocking to me that someone is willing to follow another person around all day, or at least find out where they are and then go there, and then just to take photos of that person doing the most mundane things, like who are they grabbing coffee with, what are they wearing, what car did they get out of, what building did they walk into, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So you can, I equate this if right now you were super duper famous and you go, man, I want to go grab some ice cream. You can't.
Yeah, I know.
You can't, right? Because the amount of chaos it'll cause, or the stir that it'll cause of you going to said ice cream shop or supermarket, just from you being there, is going to disrupt everything. Or say you want to go see a movie at the theater. Now you have to disguise yourself and put a baseball cap on and a hoodie and all this stuff. You got to look like you're about to go mug somebody in Central Park just to go see a movie.
Yeah.
So, and again, first world problems, right?
Yes, exactly. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You're hiding from the same people that help you build a career. I get it. But, to me, being the average person, I look at that and I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with that.
Yeah, no, I know. It's got to be hard. The one crazy story, I'm sure this happened before, maybe it just never came to fruition, is whoever created Friends got a private jet, before the first episode came out, took them to Vegas, gave each of them $500 and said, go into the casino, spend it, because this will be the last time you'll ever be able to go out in public. And again, that guy nailed it because obviously that show hit pretty quick. That show worked out, but it's got to be hard. You got to change the way you do a lot of things. But like you said, there's you get the good from it, but there's bad that comes with the territory.
Yeah. I mean, look at, if you want to talk about an extreme case, the actor that played Joffrey on Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
He had to step away from Hollywood because people kept antagonizing him every time they saw him. And it's like, guys, he's just an actor, right? He's not an asshole. Well, I don't know him, but I'm saying like he's not out there putting people to the death or putting people to the sword. Like he didn't create the character. Like the character was written by someone else. He just interpreted that on what you see on film. And you know, I go to conventions. I go to like Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con or, you know, whatever convention is out there, Dragon Con. And sometimes you see people just lash themselves on to a performance so hard that you're like, guys, you know, that's a regular person that is just doing their job. Are they exceptional at their job? 100%. Obviously, because look at the passion that you have for what they created. But learn how to separate. Like that is a human being with wants and needs, and sometimes they might want privacy. They might be having a bad day, and it's got nothing to do with you. You just happen to catch them at the wrong time. He doesn't mean to be an asshole to you or dismissive or seem crude, or it's just that person's having a bad day. And here you show up with your cell phone being like, hey, can I stick a camera in your face for the 450th time today?
Yeah, right.
You know, and they might have an adverse reaction to it.
I know. Not to go too crazy into this. Guy I used to work with when I lived in Portland, Oregon. He used to be like an autograph seeker to sell them online. And he used to be able to know like when flights were coming in. So any athlete that used to go out to Nike, he would be able to know like where they would be. It was insane. It was very weird. And he made a ton of money off this. The money he used to make was sick because he would find like, especially athletes sell a lot, but he would get like musicians that play guitar, and he would get them to sign like the pick guards and then slap them onto guitars and sell them for like a ridiculous amount of money. But I'm like, I couldn't live like that. I couldn't be like stalking somebody's flight at 4 a.m. to meet Odell Beckham coming in or something. No, I couldn't do that.
No, I think the good and the bad of that I've seen, it's like with Star Wars fans.
No, yeah.
Like I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I went to a Star Wars celebration one year, and you know Mark Hamill was there, and I was like, I paid my fee, meet and greet, did the photo op, you know, and you meet him, and he knows that you're gonna freak out when you meet him, because he's Luke Skywalker, and he's been dealing with it for 40 some odd years. So when you get there, Mark is very like, hey, how are you? He shakes your hand. He turns you around. They take your phone away, so they take the photo. You don't take the photo, so you're not up there snapping a million pictures. There's people waiting in line. But he's able to make you feel like you guys went to high school together, and he's your best buddy. He's a master at it. So you do the thing, take your photo. There was a couple behind me that approached Mark, and you know they're there and going through the whole spiel, the same script. And the dude gets on one knee and pulls out a ring. So when they go to take the photo, it's him proposing to his girlfriend in front of Mark Hamill. And I'm like, oh my God. There was another couple behind them, or a couple people behind them that brought like their baby so Mark can hold them and take a photo. It was like meeting the Pope. Like people were bringing, you know, their children and having their moments in life in front of Mark Hamill. And it was crazy. Adorable, but it was crazy.
It's insane. He's probably one of the few actors that you think of from that era. He got so not screwed, because obviously he was Luke Skywalker, and from that I'm sure he made a great living, but it was probably so hard for him to get other acting roles. Because if you look at his 80s filmography and the 90s, really like the only time he could really shine, so to speak, would be like his voice acting, like when he got the Joker role on Batman the Animated Series. His other stuff, he was in some weird stuff. And I think it wasn't by choice. It was just like, no one will cast me in other stuff. Because he is really good. You watch those movies still, it's like, he's a really good actor.
He is. And, you know, I can't speak for Mark to say fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah.
That one role that he had, you know, was so big that, you know, 40 years later, we're still talking about the Skywalker saga and Vader, and, you know, that, I'm pretty sure that it kind of became a gift and a curse of like, I have this one big thing that I did that's kind of overshadowing everything else. You know, it's tough, because when I see people in a position like that, like playing James Bond, like, you know, you're going to be known as 007 for the rest of your life, or a 007, or playing Batman, or playing any type of titular character that has a certain amount of reverence, that, you know, once you step into those shoes, that's going to follow you everywhere you go. But would you say no?
Oh, no way.
Like, you're like,
No
well, like, what do
way.
you do? Like, would you turn down the opportunity to be one of the select few that is able to say, I was 007, I was Batman, I was Superman, I was a Skywalker, a Jedi, I was in a Star Wars. There's certain things you can't say no to, or you can, but you roll the dice. But they're
You'll be kicking yourself.
so
Yeah.
yeah. I always say you can either regret the things, regret the decision that you make, or regret the things that you didn't do.
Yeah. But you just think of like Harrison Ford, man. He was able to, people never like saw him in other stuff and be like, oh, that's Han Solo. It was because right after that, he had another character that, right? You have Indiana Jones.
Well, oddly enough, we're on the set of Captain America. We're outside and I'm standing at one of the PAs. Harrison shows up, and Harrison, he's at Crafty and, by himself, and he's talking to one of the other actors there. And we're standing probably 15, 20 feet away from him. Respectfully, you don't want to bother the man because it's a living legend. And we're both standing there with our arms crossed, just looking at him. And he goes, damn, that's Han Solo. And I go, that's Indiana Jones. But you have that moment that you're like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's Indiana Jones. That's Han Solo. Like, no one else is Han Solo. All respect to Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah.
But that's the guy. When you see him, you either think Indiana or Han.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once in a blue moon, you go, oh yeah, that's the president of the United States. Get off my plane.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah. Another good movie.
It is what it
That's
is.
another great action movie that's just so ridiculous. It's like the Casey Ryback of the Under Siege 1 and 2. It's like,
Under Siege.
oh man, we're going to be screwed. Oh no, Casey Ryback's on that train? Oh, we're good. Like, that's the movie. The world might explode because of a nuclear bomb. And one guy's there.
The cook is here.
Yeah, the cook, yeah.
The cook. And Tommy Lee Jones is taking over the whole place.
Oh my God. And Gary Busey's going to dress like a girl. Right? That's insane. That movie's wild.
But again, it's like Keanu Reeves kind of has the same issue, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anytime people see Keanu Reeves, the first two things that come to your mind, John Wick and Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're a little older, oh yeah, that's, Bill and Ted, whatever, you think of that role. But maybe you remember from Bram Stoker's Dracula, or
Speed.
Vaya con Dios, if you remember. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Point Break.
Yep.
But, his big two standout roles that everybody, depending on when you were born, generationally, it's either Neo or John Wick. And every other thing is like, oh yeah, he did that as well.
Yeah. Good problem to have, right? You have the ones that everybody knows you for, and then there's the, not deep cuts, but the real film people that are like, oh, I know you in, I remember Speed, or, Parenthood with, when he was younger, and like some of those flicks.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. One question for you, since you're like a martial arts fan, who do you prefer if you had to like watch the filmographies, Van Damme or Seagal?
I want to say Van Damme. I think Van Damme had a wider variety of films.
Yeah.
Because, Seagal, all his movies, he's the hard-nosed cop that goes in and, tears everybody up and like throws everybody into every piece of furniture he can find and breaks somebody's wrist, breaks somebody's arm. It's almost like if it doesn't happen, you're like, am I watching a Steven Seagal movie? Where, Van Damme had Bloodsport. He had movies like The Quest, which is like, a little bit more family friendly that still had martial arts revolved around it. He had the sci-fi movies like Cyborg or Time Cop. He had the straight tournament style films like Kickboxer or Bloodsport. He had stuff like Sudden Death or Nowhere to Run, or he had stuff like Hard Target, where, it's like the first time that I saw John Woo doing an American film. So I think Van Damme, or like something conceptually like Universal Soldier.
Yeah.
That at the time I was like, oh, it's a pretty, you take, reanimate a dead soldier to turn him into like this ultimate killing machine, and you brainwash him, and then you give him the ultimate villain at the time was Dolph Lundgren, was like larger than life. And then he had his resurgence in the Expendables. And he did his movie, was it called JVCD?
Yeah, I remember when that came out. I never saw it, but
yeah, he has a really good monologue about what it feels like to be in the business, and the hurdles that he have to jump, and then like who the expectation of what he was supposed to be versus what he became, and the things that they tell you, the do's and don'ts, and like how much that wears on you as an actor and as a person and as a father and as a husband and as a martial artist. And I don't think he got enough credit for peeling back the layers of who he was and his shortcomings as a man and as an actor, because he kind of has a similar story to Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they both come from small beginnings. They both came to the United States with the searching for something greater. They both had very distinguishable accents that you knew, or you're not from the States. Where are you from?
Yeah.
They both had a certain look that sometimes Hollywood can be a little bit prejudiced against people that are too muscular or too this or too that, because you don't fit the standard. You don't fit in this box. And to see someone like that break through and kind of prove everybody wrong, albeit think what you may of where his career is now, or where his career wound up, but his filmography is there. Like, he is, just like Arnold, living proof that where there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you come from, or what you sound like, or what you don't sound like, or how much you do dominate the English language or you don't. He achieved a level of success that few of us will ever be able to achieve. Same thing for Jackie.
Oh, I know. Yeah. You think
Or
about how good those movies are, like going back to Van Damme, he had such a, I think the big difference between him and Seagal, and you nailed it, is Seagal was the same thing every time. JCVD did different things. He did the Dennis Rodman movie. He plays twins in multiple movies. So, he does so much. The one thing that to me is mind blowing about Seagal is like, he didn't do, like Van Damme was in Breaking. He had like that Mary's dancing in the background of that movie. And then he had like little things here and there. He was the Predator for like 2 weeks. Then they recast because the way the suit looked and his movements and stuff. But like Seagal's is wild because his first 6 movies, it's Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Under Siege. And then that's when it tails off. He does On Deadly Ground. Then that's when he got like into the political films. Like his was more like, oh, this one's, we're going to attack oil guys. Michael Caine's the bad guy in that movie. Under Siege 2 is still to the old of it. But yeah, no, they didn't do much. His last movie that I still love is, not last movie because he does a million movies, but Exit Wounds, like that went to the theaters. Him and DMX, and
oh my God, yes,
Tom Arnold,
Michael Jai White.
yes,
Michael Jai White's in that one too. Again, but that was like the Joel Silver era of Hollywood, where you had like Romeo Must Die, Exit Wounds, Cradle to the Grave. Like there were all these like martial arts, action, hip hop adjacent films where you had DMX was in them, Anthony Anderson, Ja Rule.
Yeah.
And it was like a thing for a while. I think, well, me personally, I wish I would have seen Van Damme do something more comedic at certain points in time, just to see him test those waters a little bit, because I think he did have, or might still have, the chops to like do something funny, something more along the lines of like what a Rush Hour became, what a Rush Hour is, like that level of fish out of water buddy cop type of a thing that happens to have action and martial arts in it. I don't know if Seagal would be necessarily the best tool for that type of a job.
He bombed in that. Remember him and Keenan Ivory Wayans in the Glimmer Man? It was like all like really bad line deliveries, and you're with one of the funniest guys in America, the guy that really put so many people on the map that didn't get shots from SNL, like Jim Carrey's of the world, and even just his own family, which is unbelievable. That movie is just so bad, but yeah, no, that's cool.
It's just he's too stoic,
Yeah.
and then it's you know, he just stays in this persona that he's created of like the stoic impenetrable force, and you're like, dude, how long ago was Above the Law? Like, we're still doing this?
He's insane. He doesn't even work. I interviewed some directors that are friends with him, and did a lot of like his like late 2000s, early 2010s. They're like, he just is he got so built up. I think from the early success, he put himself so high on a pedestal that he wouldn't show up like on set until it was like the minute before his thing. And then also like, you know, like for some of those shots that are like the medium shots that we're not going to use a stunt, maybe if you use a stuntman or a stunt double for like helicopter shots, but like medium shots, he's like, yeah, let's use a stunt double for that. Or he doesn't even get out of his chair for fight scenes in some of the 2010 type movies. But yeah, but those are the movies, man. That's cool that was like an early like inspiration for you, and Enter the Ninja, the Canon Ninja movies.
Oh, dude, all those Shokashugi movies. I think I still have a few of them here. Like, I was a sucker for all those. Revenge of the Ninja, Enter the Ninjas. I just saw an interview, not an interview, but I guess they were doing like a discussion about the American Ninja films of Michael Dudikoff.
Oh, cool.
And that whole era of like, you know, as corny as those movies are, they still have like a little soft spot in my heart that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. You know, they are what they are and they are what they're not. Or like, yeah, may he rest in peace, Chuck Norris and his,
I know,
you know, the Missing in Action franchise.
We're covering that. We're actually reviewing that tonight. I didn't talk to anybody from it for Missing in Action too. Yeah, dude, all those Chuck Norris movies are amazing.
And Delta Force, like, you know, you look at those movies and you can't help but be inspired because, you know, those guys are all legit martial artists in their own way. And yeah, do they play the archetype, the stereotype, you know, stereotypical one man that can't be stopped? Yeah, but again, you know what you're getting into when you sign up to watch those movies.
Yep.
You know when you watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, you're there to watch the one-liner and watch something get blown up.
Yeah. Hey, did you happen to work with Richard Norton at all when you did any of those Marvel films?
I did not. I think Richard Norton.
I know he did some of the Avenger movies, and but he goes way back with Chuck because he was a martial artist, and Chuck convinced him to come over to the States in the late 70s, and he was the bad guy in at the end of the Octagon. If you ever saw that Chuck Norris movie,
yeah. He's fought Sammo, he's fought Jackie, he's fought I think he fought Young Bew, he's fought a couple of the greats on camera. As far as I remember hearing, I think he was part of the team that did the most recent iteration of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
He was part of that Aussie team. I never got to meet the man. I never got to work with the man, unfortunately and sadly. You know, he was again another great martial artist. You know, and when you see him on camera, he always had that little bit where he would hit somebody, and the person would wince in pain, and he'd do the whole painful.
Yeah, no, he was a cool guy. I got to talk to him, and just such a wealth of knowledge. And his run of movies were really good too because he worked with the female martial artists of the 80s.
Cynthia Rothrock.
Yes. They did so many of those cool movies, like they're cops together and going under at a school at one of the movies. Brian Thompson's the villain in one of them, and there's just like these really cool, those are the best movies.
It's funny because usually when like the newer guys come into the business, now that I guess I don't want to say a senior position, but a little bit more seasoned. I get at, what should I watch? You know, because they're in their 20s. Like, what movie should I watch? And you point to like, hey, watch Dragons Forever, or watch Drunken Master, or what, and you start rattling off like all these 80s, 90s action movies, and just look at them stylistically. what do they have that makes them similar? What do they have that makes them distinct? Because everybody has their own fighting style, their own cadence, and whether it's a comedic cadence or a more serious tone to them or something that's a little bit more bloody and gruesome. So you can understand that aspect of creating action. How do they shoot? Do they shoot really wide? How much coverage is the double? How much coverage is the actual actor? And you get a better understanding of like what makes those movies great, what makes those fights stand the test of time. Because, you look at something Jackie did in the 80s, and some of it you're still like, holy shit, how did you guys do that?
Yeah.
And that's 20 some odd years, that you're like, how did you do that and you're still alive to talk about it?
Even just some of the stuff visually, you think it can't be real. I don't know if it's Rumble in the Bronx when he like runs up the wall when he's in the corner of the chain. There's like a chain link fence and a brick wall, and he like runs up the corner, and it's like, how is somebody doing this? Like,
I think he does it it might have been Rush Hour where like he slides himself through like the like a cashier slot where you have like the little window where they slide you the cash and like and he like slides himself through it.
Yes, I know.
I'm like, how did you look at that? And go, I wonder if I can, and then not, snap your nose off on the way through, But again, you see guys like that, like Jackie, Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock, Yim Bu, Sammo Hung, Donnie Yen, who had a resurgence during the Ip Man films.
Yep.
And, the sad part is that American cinemas caught on to those guys so late.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
That you're like, guys, you guys like are missing all the prime. Go back and watch all this other stuff that happened before you just saw him in John Wick and you're like, who is that? I'm like, oh my God, go watch all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But they laid the groundwork for on-camera screen fighting. And you start to see how much influence they've had on things like The Raid, how much influence they have on like the fights in the Phantom Menace in Star Wars, where you see a lot of wushu, a lot of circular movements. The fights are very high paced, they're wide shots. You see it's Ewan McGregor doing a lot of it. Like, for God's sakes, Ray Park does a B twist in the middle of the damn fight. And you're like, the hell? But you see the influence of like that Hong Kong style of cinema and American cinema and modern filmmaking and the John Wick films and the Bourne films and The Raid, that what that group of people created back in those days is just undeniable.
Yeah. And it changed everything. Even like horror movies were doing that. Because I forgot who shot Freddy vs. Jason. It was a Hong Kong creditor. Why can't I think of the name? But he was like, I'm going to do that style for like a horror movie. And it was like so cool seeing these quick, like seeing the full scene, but just the way everything was set up. But yeah, man, Vic, this has been awesome, man. I'm happy we connected. And
yes,
thanks for sharing your story with me, a fellow tri-state area, Jersey for a little bit. Harrison's nice. You ever go to any Red Bulls games?
I actually went to one probably about 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. I'm slowly starting to get into it, and they're, especially now that the World Cup is about to hit Jersey and everybody's going football, soccer crazy. It's interesting to see how that fan base operates and how passionate they are. Oh, it is cool. God.
When I lived in Portland, like, even though I'm in Jersey, it would take me like, I don't know, by train, maybe like an hour and a half, maybe an hour to get to Harrison. But like when we lived in Portland, we were like really close. And it was cool, like how a city just like, especially there, it was just the Blazers and the Timbers and the female Thorns. But it was like they loved that stuff. Here, each season, I'm going to different things. Yeah, right now, the Knicks are thriving. The Yankees are playing good. So I have so many things to go through. But no, it is cool. I got to get to a Red Bulls game. I don't think they play the Portland this year. But yeah, man. Well, best of luck with everything when this comes out. Probably next week or the following week. I'll be sure to share it with you. And thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Sounds good. No
All
problem.
right, Vic. Have a good rest of your day, man.
Take care.
So Vic went Van Dam. Not a bad choice, really. Like we talked about, he broke it down perfectly. You know, Van Damme didn't care about trying to do different things. Like a lot of his movies were, obviously it's action, but different roles he played in a lot of them. Seagal was the same guy, pretty much in all the movies. But again, like Vic said so many times, and I loved hearing that from someone. Hey, when you go into a movie, you have to suspend disbelief. Like, we know that the city's getting destroyed by Spider-Man or Captain America and all those movies, but you know what? Just let it be. Be in this world, escape from real life, because that's what movies are. Movies and TV is you want to escape from how harsh reality can be, even if your days are going great. When you have a down day, man, it's going to pick you up. If you have a great day, it's going to make it greater. So, yeah, Vic was awesome. I love hearing stories about stunt and just that community, how it is kind of like you're learning from one another and the community built within it. And like you talked about, if I don't get the job, hey, good for my buddy who, like you said, is probably going to be right around his height and weight, because that's how a lot of these roles are cast. And yeah, Vic was awesome. So yeah, your homework, Escape Plan 2. Why not? Stallone, I know he didn't like the movie, the ending, so that's why he ended up making the third one, but I'm excited, man. You got Bautista, you got Dave Bautista. I know Jamie made fun of me the way I said Bautista. But yeah, Dave Bautista, keep saying it like that. And you get Stallone. I'm sure there's a lot of action in it. Why not? It's Stallone. It'll be a lot of fun. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys. Good night, guys.